the 29th episode of Democracy at the Crossroads. Today we'll discuss about an Israeli newspaper, an Israeli national daily that has shown an astounding courage of conviction to call in question not only the Israeli government but also the Israeli defense forces. It even fearlessly questions the Israeli society in order to uphold what it calls liberal and universal values. Yes, I am talking about Haaretz. Haaretz, which means in Hebrew the land of Israel. This newspaper was founded in 1918, which makes it the longest running newspaper currently in print in Israel. It's published both in Hebrew and in English. In domestic market, Haaretz is the third largest circulated daily, but it sells like hotcake in the international circuit, the English edition. The English edition is published and sold together with the New York Times International Edition. More than 75% ownership of the newspaper is with one family, Shokin family. Shulman Shokin, a rich Jewish German businessman, had fled from Hitler's Germany when anti-Semitism was gaining ground. He came to Tel Aviv and bought the Haaretz newspaper in 1935. Haaretz was then quite disturbed. It was barely surviving on advertisements from Tel Aviv municipality. Shokin scaled it up. Shokin was an active member of Brit Shalom, a Jewish group that advocated peaceful coexistence between Arabs and Jews. That spirit reflected in the newspaper prominently. His son, Gresham Shokin, became the chief editor of the newspaper from 1939 till his death in 1990. He set the editorial policy. The paper started working for Arab-Israeli peace and tirelessly exposed those who threatened that peace. Initially, Haaretz was a centrist newspaper, not haranguing much, but it changed course due to constant reinforcement of Israeli colonization of the occupied territories. And this reinforcement was happening in both Israeli society and Israeli politics. Today, even under the third generation of Shokin family, which is in control of the newspaper, Haaretz has consciously chosen to position itself as a pole of resistance to the sinister tendency to justify Israeli occupation of Palestine militarily. Amos Shokin, the current owner and publisher, believes that the ongoing trend of justification of Jewish settlements in Palestine poses a growing threat to Israeli democracy. Since the Israeli government has been, for the most part, the aggressor, trying to obliterate the Palestinian existence, most of Haaretz's sharp commentary and reportage has been directed against its own government. Look at the explosive statement of Shokin, who says, The law, the constitution that describes Israel as the nation state of the Jewish people has a fascist stamp. Mind you, fascist stamp, he says, as it creates two types of citizens and officially establishes the Jewish supremacy. Mind you, this is the statement of a Jewish owner of an Israeli newspaper. How many owners of Indian newspapers can get away saying something like this against the Indian state? They will be promptly charged with sedition and put away in jail. But Haaretz had stood its ground. In our country, almost all our national newspapers put the country first, right or wrong. If it is India-Pak fight, India is always right, Pakistan is always wrong. But for Haaretz, truth takes the precedence. If Israeli armed forces are killing Palestinians indiscriminately, then they must be called in question, says Haaretz. And the newspaper does it every day, day after day. In our country, if one questions the actions of the Indian army, one would immediately be branded as anti-national. One will be arrested and sent to jail. No newspaper in India dares to question the actions of an Indian army. No newspaper tries to explore or uncover the dark underbelly of the black deeds of an Indian army in strife-torn areas in different points of time. But Haaretz does it openly, defiantly. In fact, it has been doing it for years. As a matter of fact, it has given voice to an NGO called Breaking the Silence. This is an NGO set up by humanity-inspired ex-army reservists of Israel, who had a ringside view of the atrocities committed by the Israeli military in the occupied Palestinian territories. Haaretz published their heart-wrenching accounts prominently over and over again. Yes, this has provoked outraged reactions from rightist, reactionary Israelis. But it is gratifying to see that no editor, no reporter of Haaretz has been hauled up or sent to jail for their temerity to question the Israeli army. Mind you, Haaretz is no left-wing radical newspaper. It's a mainstream newspaper owned by a Jewish business baron, a business baron who stands for human values. I hope and pray Haaretz would be the role model for the mainstream media in our country.